Hey, I haven't recorded for a while. I've been a little busy, doing a little traveling and whatnot. So I'm going to cover a couple of things on this YouTube broadcast. Um, uh, so much to cover. Oh my goodness. We have pestilence. We have earthquakes. No famine yet. Um, Definitely signs of the times, and I can't wait to talk more about that. Um, I relish these moments. I really do. It's not that I look forward to hardships, and I certainly my thoughts and prayers go to everyone who is struggling and who has job issues, employment, money. But it really is a time to humble ourselves and to reach out to God and to His Son Jesus Christ. Recently, just got back from a trip with my son Jesse to Israel. Just a little over a week ago. Right through this whole crazy thing. I can't even tell you what miracles happened for us to get home and to experience Israel. It was my second time being there, my son's first time, and it was absolutely, absolutely incredible. Israel, Israel, God is calling. I I love the people of Israel. I love Israel. I feel connected there. We we stayed in Old City, Jerusalem, in an Airbnb that my son set up, and we were in the Jewish quarter, just a minute's walk from the Western Wall. It was absolutely incredible. The family that we rented the apartment from, strict Jewish. We went into their apartment and visited with them. They had many kids, and it was so rich in tradition. So much to see in and near Old City Jerusalem. The Temple Mount, the Kidron Valley, the city of David, and Hezekiah's tunnel, which we did and was incredible. Hezekiah had the foresight to tunnel through the bedrock. It was amazing because these two teams of workers tunneling through, and they met perfectly to get water from the spring to get into the city in case of an attack. Also, the caves underneath the Old City Jerusalem, which I didn't really know much about. My son had seen a YouTube channel on it, and it was amazing. They call them Solomon's caves. They're also Zedekiah's caves, where they went in and quarried the stone for much of the city of Jerusalem, and it tunnels underneath, and you go for, I was going to say miles, that might be a stretch, but you go forever and ever, and it's lighted in the caves. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to upload some video clips and some movies, or excuse me, some still pictures of my of some of our adventures in Israel. We went. We really didn't have a solid plan. We had things we wanted to see and do. We didn't know exactly how we were going to do it, and we were kind of guided by the Spirit. I shouldn't say kind of. We were, and ran into people that helped us and got us down to the Dead Sea, to the site where many feel Christ was baptized by John the Baptist, right there on the Jordan River right before it empties into the Dead Sea. And for me, I think it took place there versus up further north, up by Galilee, for this reason, and that is that Christ symbolically was baptized in the low spot of the earth. He descended below us all, and the Dead Sea is the lowest elevation on the earth, and this is right where the Jordan River, right before it empties in. And in fact, the Dead Sea at the time of Christ was bigger because less water was being taken out of the Jordan River for irrigation and whatnot. And so it actually probably was right at the site where the Jordan River, or the River Jordan, emptied into the Dead Sea. So, and I can't remember exactly, but I'm going to guess it's around 1,400 feet below sea level. And I think Jerusalem is 2,000 plus above sea level. So you descend down. So we got down there with Hussein was our cab driver that just spent the whole day with us, and he took us there. And then we went to Masada, and I've been there before, but it's just incredible. King Herod's palace, then taken over by the rebels. Approximately 700 AD, I think, is when the Romans were wiping out the Jews and the rebels, and the last stronghold went up to the top of Masada, and the Romans, you can still see their fortresses around where they encamped all around this high mountain, flat top. And these Jewish rebels who would rather die than be subject to Roman rule did their last stand. It's really amazing. You take a tram up there, or you can hike up. And then we went to Qumran, where they, I think it was in 1940 something, 7 maybe, I can't remember, discovered the jars that had the scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls, which included, the writings of Isaiah and many others. It's just amazing. And we saw the caves where they were found, the remnants of the village of the people that lived there. We then traveled back into the old city and just had an incredible time walking the streets, walking the path of what many feel that Christ carried his cross. We went through the Kidron Valley and walked right down the middle of it. It was just amazing. Through the cemetery. I've got some incredible pictures. I posted some on Facebook, a couple, of the flowers and the beautiful time of year. Everything was green, even the Dead Sea area, which is very uncommon. We walked all the way around the old city, Jerusalem, outside the walls, inside the walls, covered every path. Some of you may know, and some of you may not know, that even Old City Jerusalem it's kind of in quarters, and you have a Christian quarter, a Jewish quarter, I think an Armenian, and then the Palestinian. And Palestinians actually occupy the Temple Mount, and it was very restricted. And we were very fortunate to be able to get there and feel the spirit of that place. Of course, we went to the Garden of Gethsemane, the Orson Hyde Park, walked all through that. The Garden Tomb, which I would say most Protestant as well as most LDS people feel that was the tomb of the Savior, that he came forth out of the tomb. It's depicted in pictures, paintings, prints that fill our church buildings. The Holy Sepulchre is where the Catholics feel that Christ was crucified and where the tomb was as well. And I'd never gone there before, but we went there and it was awesome. It was wonderful, amazing. But the garden tomb was, it was so, I can't even describe in words how we felt. And there were hardly any people there. In fact, when we entered the tomb, it was just my son and I that were there, Jesse and I, and the powerful, powerful spirit of what took place. And the Garden of Gethsemane and those I call them witness trees, those ancient old olive trees that are still there in the Garden of Gethsemane. Amazing, with new growth coming out of them. After we went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and then the church that's built over the site that most Catholics feel that he suffered in the garden. There's a big rock that they've built a building over, and we went in there. And then we went and hiked up into the Orson Hyde Park, and we came back, and I said, let's go back and see those old trees again in the Garden of Gethsemane. We went back there, and there was a gardener trimming off some olive leaves, some branches, and he gave us a branch from those ancient trees, and with olive leaves on there. So we brought those home with us. I was really thrilled about that. We then traveled up north to Galilee, and we went to Shechem. We went to Nazareth. We went to Cana, where the first miracle, water to wine. We were all in Western Bank, Palestinian, crazy. I mean, it was awesome. It was just awesome. We got out of Jerusalem, or excuse me, we got out of. We went to Caesarea Philippi, way up north, and Dan, and were able to look into Syria and into Lebanon. We, of course, Capernaum. And the Magdala, where Mary Magdalene was from, and the ancient synagogue that's been excavated there, that was around at the time of Christ, and then all the Mount Carmel or Carmel, where Elijah the prophet challenged the priests of Baal. It's one of the great stories in the Old Testament. I miss it already. I love Israel. It calls my name. We went through the area that was designated to be for Ephraim. And it really felt like we were going home. The blood of Ephraim, the loins, are through the loins of Ephraim, the lineage, the direct lineage of Ephraim. Many of us are from that, and to travel in the land that was given to our the grandson of Jacob, Israel, who was then adopted to be one of the tribes, and to be in that designated land was truly amazing. We went to Caesarea, the maritime, along the Mediterranean, where Paul testified and was actually right close to where Peter had his vision up on the roof to spread the gospel. We were right there to all the world. And anyway, Tel Aviv is where we flew into and flew out of, and there's so many stories to tell. I can't explain it all. Definitely got closer to our Savior and walking the paths. walking the path of where Joseph and his brothers took him and then sold him to the caravan that took him down to Egypt. We were right there. At Jacob's well in the land of Shechem. We were there. But ultimately where the Savior walked and where he taught. The Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, we were there. We were blessed to get home. We were blessed to be healthy and strong through the whole ordeal and met many, many, many wonderful people. So hopefully in the coming days, I'll be able to share some more particulars on everything. I know this is a bit of a long broadcast, but okay. So a little bit about Enos. I'm not even going to open up my scriptures. I'm just going to shoot off here. But Enos had a wrestle with the Lord to obtain forgiveness and to be square with God, real similar to Jacob having his wrestle with the Lord. And when we were on our mission, I taught this in a zone conference about the wrestling match, and I said, "Is this all-star wrestling that Enos had, or is it the real thing?" And I related an experience that I had. I'm going to turn a light on here and see if it gives a little bit better. I don't know if that helps or not, but when I was on my mission, we were at the laundromat, my companion and I, on Monday, doing our white shirts and whatnot. And in came the most famous wrestler at the time of Canada. And he was washing his little tighties, his uniform. It was really kind of funny. And so, as missionaries, we talk to everybody, right? And I start talking to Sailor White. Sailor White, bleached white, long hair, muscles, big, and he's washing his little tidy outfit and his little spandex for wrestling. I mean, he just had to do it like the rest of us, So I struck up a conversation with him, and he was scarred up and, kind of hammered looking, but I said, "So, okay, Sailor White, I've been a fan of professional wrestling since I was a little kid. I mean, I grew up with, Baron von Roshny, I think, the hand, the claw, and Crusher Kowalski, and I don't know, a bunch of others. And then later, came Hulk Hogan and all those guys. And I like it. I think it's fun. It's entertaining. Haven't watched it in a long, long time, but when I was a kid, I loved it. And I knew it was staged and fake, but, you always like to see it anyway. So I asked Sailor White, I said, is this all fake and staged? And Sailor White said, most of it is. And he said, but see this scar? And he showed me the scar on his head. He goes, that was a chair that was supposed to break apart, and it didn't, and it laid me open. And he showed me some battle wounds, but he said, for the most part, we know who's going to win, who's going to lose, and most of our choreographed, the flips and the slamming and all that is all part of it. And he says that the mats that or the ring that they're in is almost like a trampoline, so it's not like hard ground, but he said it's still, we still get hurt. So when I taught this before, I thought of that when I read that great book of Enos, because he's a hunter and I like to hunt, and he's hunting wild beasts, and he talks about the spirit entering his heart. And I think just like an arrow would, or a bullet, you want to aim for the heart of the animal to kill it, basically. And I think Enos was really talking about he wanted God to enter in his heart, and kill the natural man. And he just wanted to be like his dad and like his grandpa and like probably his mom and his grandma. And he really wanted that. He wanted to feel it. And so he wrestled. And his wrestle wasn't staged. His wrestle wasn't fake. His wrestle wasn't phony. It was the real thing. And I testify of that. And I've had those opportunities to have that real wrestle. And I love that word wrestle. I think it is very descriptive, and it takes a long time. It's not a quick boom, I want an answer right now. And sometimes it takes all day and all night and the next day and the next day. But it comes. The answers come. And so as we've read this week, the book of Enos and the other scriptures, let's think of our prayers as being real. And certainly the events that have taken place with the coronavirus and those that live in the Salt Lake area, and particularly Magna U Rock, we felt the earthquake. We live in a little town called Mountain Green in Morgan Valley, and it shook me right out of a chair. It just brought the reality that God is speaking to us. And I'm gonna bring up some scriptures in the next few broadcasts that I've found and had shared with me, and Sue and I have discussed, that really bring this to home. Exciting times. And sometimes I joke around and say, this virus is made custom for me because I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to socialize because I'm not much of a socializer. So it's like, hey, this is awesome, But in all reality, people are really many people are really suffering, and I don't want to make light of that at all. And soon I pray for them. And individually I pray for people that are going through hardships and difficulties through this, mostly because of employment issues. Because I know how that can be, and frankly, money is just what we need in this society nowadays, and so it's a real thing. But I do know that God is real and He watches over us, and if we humble ourselves, it'll all work out. But we might have to go through some trials, and we might have to go through some of our own wrestling matches, and really have what we like to call come to Jesus moments, and these are great opportunities to have that happen, where we are humbled, where we realize we're not all that in a bag of chips, and that without Christ we're really nothing. We're really nothing. So He descended below us all, and He will redeem us. I promise that. And I know that that these things are, that these events that have taken place recently and that are continuing to go on are a great opportunity for us to really have some real wrestling matches and have that confirmation that the Book of Mormon's true, that Joseph Smith was really the prophet of the restoration, that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, that He walked on this earth, that He was born in Bethlehem, His mother was Mary, and His father was God, raised in Nazareth and in Egypt, began His ministry lived his perfect life, suffered, beaten, spit upon, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, hung on a cross, placed in a tomb, and came forth out of the tomb, a perfect resurrected being, and then ascended to our Father, called apostles. I testify that all that's true. And because that's true, we're going to get through all these things. We're going to get through it. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to look out for one another, and all will be well. Well, I can't wait to talk to you more about Israel, about the trip there, about what's going to take place in Israel. If you really read the scriptures, the particularly First and Second Nephi and Third Nephi, you'll see the mention of Jerusalem many, many, many times, and in the Doctrine and Covenants many, many, many times. And of course, the Bible, the New Testament and Old Testament, you'll hear about it, you'll read about it. It's a significant place on earth, and it's the grafting, the olive tree is Israel. The old tree is Israel, and we receive our blessings through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they need us and we need them. So God bless y'all. Good to be back chatting with you. Got a little dark while I was doing the video. Sun went down and turned into rain out there, so I apologize for the little darkness there while we were chatting. But can't wait to visit more with you, and we're going to all get through this. And be safe, be calm, be prayerful, and be very respectful of everyone in their space. Be smart, and God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye.